Hey, what's going on, fellow Smashers? Axel here. In this video, I'm going to respond to ZeRo's tier list, ZeRo being the best Smash 4 player in the world. I'm going to give my thoughts on part 2, which is his high tiers. My last video, I gave my thought on his part 1 video, which was the top tiers. I will link that video below so you can check that out. If you haven't heard it yet, I will also link below ZeRo's video where he explains his choices. So let's get started. As you can see here on the screen, this is ZeRo's list of high tiers. At 16, he has Pit and Dark Pit. First of all, I would disagree at this point in the meta of putting Pit and Dark Pit together in one slot. I think after the Dark Pit side B buff, Dark Pit is a significantly better character than regular Pit. The only thing regular Pit really has over Dark Pit is his arrows, which have more mobility. They have better movement basically. But Dark Pit has that amazing side B now, which kills really early near the ledge, especially. So I would put Dark Pit higher than Pit. But as far as overall placement of these characters, I think they're a little high. I would probably put Dark Pit and Pit. Dark Pit I would probably put at least 3 or 4 spots lower. In regular Pit I would probably put more like 7 or 8 spots lower. Dark Pit has no real flaws but no real strengths. He's a very well-rounded character, probably the most well-rounded quote-unquote standard character in the game. The only thing I think that really sticks out about Pit is Dark Pit is his side B, which is a great kill options if you can get a read. Pit plays pretty standard. Like, he has an okay kill throw. He has a decent but not amazing combo game. He has decent range. He's just really standard. If you're a player that wants a very consistent, very fundamental based character, Pit's a pretty good choice. But at the same time, I think there are other characters like Cloud that kind of overshadow Dark Pit. Like, if you want a standard character that's easy to play, I would probably go with Cloud. But overall, he's a solid character. He doesn't have a lot of results though. Like in America, especially, there's a couple. And I think it's Earth is a really good Pit main from Japan. He does well over there, but really we don't see any high placements or really any top players playing Pit. So because of that, I would put him lower. So let's move on now to Captain Falcon, which ZeRo placed at number 17. I see this. I would probably put Falcon a little lower, maybe like 3 or 4 spots lower, but this is fine. Falcon is one of those characters that has really obvious strengths. Like his speed is ridiculous. I think he might be the second fastest character on the ground behind Sonic. You have to quote me on that, but I think he is. He also has a great combo game and really good power. But the thing with Falcon is I don't see him ever. He's never going to be a top tier because of his weaknesses. He has 2 huge weaknesses: his recovery and his fast fall speed. He just falls way too fast. He gets comboed to death by characters higher than him on the tier list, and he also gets edge guarded really hard. Like, he has one of the worst recoveries in the game, probably a bottom 5 recovery in the game. He's really easy to intercept. He's really easy to spike. His up B stalls for just a second or 2 before it initiates the upward motion. So it's really easy to go out there and spike him or whatever. So because of that, he's never going to be higher. But he's always he's one of these kind of like Cloud, kind of like Pit, one of these not hard to play characters that you can do well with if you have good fundamentals. But his flaws are always going to hold him back. So overall, this is fine. This placement's fine. He definitely is a high tier character, and I don't think he's ever going to move. No matter what happens in the meta, I think he's going to stay pretty solidly at high tier because he's always can do well, but he's never going to be able to win a national because of his flaws that are just too exploitable. Next, ZeRo put Lucario at number 18. I was really surprised with this. I don't see why Lucario is this high. I think he's a really good. He's a pretty good character, but he's super inconsistent because he relies on his aura, which isn't even good until he's at high percents. So it's a character that's kind of risky and really inconsistent. Also, outside of his aura, he doesn't have much in his moveset. His moves are pretty standard. He's got a decent projectile. He's got some combos. His recovery is good distance-wise, but it doesn't have a hitbox. You can intercept it. It is pretty fast, though, so it can be a little difficult to intercept. But I don't really see it. Like, I know there's been some results for him, but I think characters below him have had better overall bodies of work as far as results go. So I would probably put Lucario 5 to 10 spots lower, maybe more towards the bottom end of high tier. Maybe no, I probably wouldn't put him at mid tier, but probably the more the bottom end of the high tiers. So I'm a little surprised by this placement here. I'm not really sure why Zero put him this high. I don't think his results or his theory is good enough to put him above some of these other characters. Okay, next is Toon Link, and this one I really do agree with, and I might even put Toon Link a little higher. Zero has him here at number 19. I think Toon Link is a character that has a lot of potential, and people are now just realizing that. Like, Toon Link is definitely the biggest surger on the tier list right now, outside of the DLC characters. But for the past like 3, 4, 5 months, we've really seen a lot of development of this character. He's really good. He's really similar to Diddy in the way he plays. Like, he relies on his bombs for setups. He pulls bombs, and if he can get bomb confirms on smashes, he can use his bombs to get in grabs. He has a good projectile game, and unlike regular Link, he actually has the speed to utilize his projectile game in addition to his bombs. Like, regular Link can't really utilize his bombs well because he doesn't have the speed to get the grabs or confirms or anything out of them. So he's also really small and hard to hit. His up B, his recovery is pretty good, although it doesn't have a hitbox right at the top, like in the center, so it is vulnerable to spiking. But he's overall a very solid character with a lot of potential, and he really rewards creativity. So I really like the placement here. I would even perhaps put him a little bit higher. I would definitely put him higher than Lucario and possibly higher than Captain Falcon. I do think Toon Link has a lot more potential than Captain Falcon. Next, at number 20, Zero put Luigi. I feel really bad for Luigi mains because I don't see how we can really justify the nerf to Luigi at this point when we have all the jank that the DLC characters like Cal and Bayonetta are coming out and having. So it's unfortunate they nerfed Luigi, but he's a character that is still good, but I don't really see a lot of reason to play Luigi over Mario at this point. He's kind of like a worse Mario, I think. He has a really good combo game out of his down throw, but I think Mario's is just as good now after the nerf. But Mario, unlike Luigi, has an easier time getting in because his airspeed especially is just so much better. And Mario's up B, you can't really mess with it, whereas Luigi, his recovery is really vulnerable to being gimped. But he's still overall like a solid character, and his fireball is kind of the one thing he has over Mario. Like, his fireball is definitely better than Mario, but even that's been nerfed quite a bit. Like, the frame data has been hurt on that. So he can get camped out. He doesn't have cape like Mario. I think he has issues getting camped out, but he's still like a really solid character, and definitely agree with his Zero's placement here. But it's a character that unfortunately I think has been invalidated by that nerf, and it's really too bad. I don't think he deserves it at this point. Okay, next, Zero put Donkey Kong, and I'm a little surprised by this, to see a super heavy this high, but I see why. Like, he's a character that a lot of people seem to love, and he's getting good results from DK Will, who's like extremely dedicated to this character and mained him since Brawl and just loves this character and is really pushing all the little technical aspects. And I think that's one of the reasons Donkey Kong is this high. Is I think he's one of the most developed advanced characters just because of people like DK Will and even really good players like Larry Lurr pulls him out every once in a while, and Mewtwo King, while not maining him anymore, still plays him some. So we've got a lot of really good players playing this character. He's also, personally, he's one of my secondaries. I'll use him occasionally in bracket, but he's one of my most fun characters just to play in friendlies. But I will use him in bracket from time to time. He of course has the ding dong combo, his cargo up throw to up air, which is the reason he's this high, and it's kind of like almost like a Wario Waft in that kind of a way. Like, it's a wild card he has, which can just take a whole stock at like mid percents, and it's pretty nuts. And if he grabs you on the platform, he can kill you at like 40-50%, something really crazy. But he has weaknesses, kind of like Captain Falcon, that are going to forever keep him out of the higher portion of the tier list. Like, being that big is really an issue. He just gets hit all the time, and it makes his weight almost not worth it. And him being the second heaviest character in the game, I believe he's second. really helps with that, but still, it's just, what's the point of being that heavy if the combos at low percent on you are just so free by like a lot of these top tiers. He also has an exploitable recovery. It's good horizontally, but vertically it really struggles, and he has a lot of vulnerability on the top, on his head when he's recovering. Like, he only has hitboxes on the sides, so he has issues there. But as a character, he, aside from the ding dong, he's really solid in other ways. Like his neutral B is another kind of wild card, like his ding dong, which can really end a match early. Like, if you connect with a neutral B with rage, you can kill people at like 60%. So it's a really strong move. And he has really good edge guarding. I don't know if I've mentioned that, but his edge guarding with back air is really good. He another con though is he struggles in neutral. But that's enough about Donkey Kong. Overall, I'm a little surprised he's this high. I think his weaknesses are too big to be this high. I would put him more towards the low end of high tier, so down maybe 5 more spots on this list, maybe a couple more. I just think, and I think he's definitely going to drop over time as other characters get developed and catch up to his high development. Next is Rob at number 22. Rob, I see this. I think kind of like Captain Falcon, kind of like Donkey Kong. He's another one of these characters that is really good and has had a lot of development in their meta, but has some really huge weaknesses that will forever keep him out of top tier. Rob has really good zoning, probably aside from like Villager, probably the best zoning character in the game, and Gyro might be the best item in the game, either that or Diddy's Banana. It's one of the best items in the game anyways. There's a lot of really creative stuff you can do with Rob, like his gyro setups really reward a lot of creativity. But now we have to get to his weaknesses, though, and they're really big. His recovery is really bad. It's really vulnerable. It's slow. It's really easy to spike or just go off stage and mess with. If you can force a Rob to up B and you're playing a character with just pretty good edge guarding, he shouldn't really be getting back. Also, he's so huge and he's so, like, it's so hard to land with him. He gets juggled just for days by certain characters. And he's also huge and he's combo food. So those are really big weaknesses that are going to forever hold him back. But he's another one of these characters, as I mentioned, that's seen a lot of development. I know, like 8-Bit Man, I think they're like Mr. Eric. They've really been pushing his meta, and he's seen a lot of advances. He might go a little bit higher, but he's definitely never going to get out of high tier. He's not going to go any higher than that just because of his weaknesses. Okay, next is Peach, and Peach is still like a mystery. I feel like no one plays this character, and I know why she's high tier. I know you always hear people throw out the term that Peach is super technical. She has all this potential, but it's kind of like Yoshi. We never really see anyone do anything with it. I know Slayers was doing well in some getting some pretty good placings in some big tournaments, but we still haven't seen a lot of results from Peach. And Zero was referencing this in his video. I'm not sure that she's as good as people say. I think she's overrated, and honestly, I think she may drop because despite people pushing her meta so much, she's just not like placing that well. So I think she might even drop out of high tier and be like high mid tier after the meta develops more overall. So I guess you can justify her placing here for now, but I honestly, unless some Peach players come up with some really interesting, ridiculous tech that we haven't seen before, I don't see her really getting much higher than this. But I could be wrong. We'll have to see. It'll be really interesting to see what happens in the next year. Okay, let's move on to number 24, which is Ike. Now, Ike is a character that he's been probably the most buffed character in Smash 4. I would say definitely. Like he was so awful when the game came out. I remember what he was like. He was just so bad. But they really gave him some huge buffs, and he's jumped he's jumped over most characters in the tier list to get this high. He's definitely he has that great power, great mix of range and power. And his frame data and mobility is not that good, but it's good enough to where if you have solid fundamentals, you can keep people out neutral, and every once in a while when you make a read, you can kill someone really early with like an up smash or an F smash. So he's really good. He's a little vulnerable off stage, but even even then, it's kind of hard to, unless you have a projectile like Pikachu that can just spam it and prevent him from up being. It's really actually pretty hard to mess with unless you have a really mobile character that can get over his sword, because on his up B he'll throw his sword up and it creates a hitbox that really protects him to a large extent. So he's pretty good. The one problem I see with Ike, and Zero was referencing this, is that his meta is kind of, I don't really see it going anywhere, because he's not a character that, because of his mobility, I don't think he has a ton of potential. And I think especially that the addition of Cloud to the game has really hurt Ike, because kind of like Mario compared to Luigi, like why would you play Ike over Cloud? Like Cloud is just strictly better, I think, in almost every way, except maybe his recovery. But I think Cloud really delegitimizes Ike. Like I don't see anyone dedicating themselves to Ike when they can just play Cloud, who's clearly a better character. Okay, let's move on to, so I guess placement overall, this is fine for now. I agree with Zero's placement here, but I think he'll drop over time. Okay, next is Greninja. Greninja is another character that seems to have like really dedicated mains. Like Greninja mains seem to be super dedicated, kind of like Peach mains, kind of like what else? Like I don't know, like Wario mains. People seem to really like this character, the few people that do play them, and have really pushed his meta. But the thing with Greninja that I think a lot of people have found out is that he has some really good combos and some really good tech, but all of it is like super hard to pull off. And he's kind of like Ike, another character that I think is just delegitimized by the top tiers, like, and specifically Sheik. He's kind of just a worse version of Sheik. Like, why would you play Greninja when you can play Sheik? Sheik's tools are overall better. Like, needles are just flat out better than Water Shuriken. Neutral wise, yeah, Greninja has a pretty good neutral and good speed, but Sheik just is stronger overall, and I think she requires less work than Greninja. Like Greninja, a lot of his like I've seen some crazy footstool combos and stuff with Greninja, but all of this tech is like really hard to pull out when you. So why play Greninja when you can just play Sheik, who has better tools overall and has a similar play style, but all her tools are just better and easier to utilize. So there has been some good results with Greninja, like recently from ice studying. He placed really high, I think it was in a European tournament. So Greninja definitely has potential. It's just he could go up. I agree with his placement here. He could go up, it could go down, depending on if Greninja players can figure out a way to use his special attributes in a way that isn't so hard to pull off. Like if they can find a way to play him more efficiently and more easily, then he could rise. But if not, I think he might just stay the same, maybe drop. So next is Wii Fit Trainer at 26. Wii Fit Trainer is the big surprise here on Zero's list. Like everyone, when they commented on the comment section, was like, "What? You put Wii Fit here?" Wii Fit has been seen as like a low tier character by most tier lists, and I don't remember where she is on the official backroom tier list, but she's not very high. I think most people, really every single tier list from top players has put her at mid tier, like at best. So to see Zero put her in high tiers is a pretty big surprise. Although I have to say Zero's has a lot of characters in high tier, so he might be a little more forgiving with his definition of high tier. But anyways, Wii Fit, like it's kind of like Greninja, kind of like Peach. She has a really dedicated base of players who play her. Like the players who play Wii Fit seem to really love this character, and the thing is though, I don't think her neutral's very good. She has really bad hitboxes, and she has some really good strengths. Like her camp game is really good, and that's the reason she's this high. Like she has really good camping, and her game kind of revolves around staying off stage and really ledge hogging and camping the ledge, which is really good for characters that don't have strong edge guarding games and are forced to approach her. But I think for characters that are either can really have really good edge guarding or can force Wii Fit to approach, she just has a really hard time. We've seen stuff like there was a set at what was it? I don't remember. It was a recent tournament, and it was a set between Rin from Japan and actually I think it was Genesis. Genesis 3. It was a set between Rin and Esam, and Esam just destroyed Rin. I think and that's an example of a character with really good edge guarding, that Pikachu, that can really mess with her. So I think she has issues against those characters, and I really don't agree with her being this high, because if you can force her out of her camping style, she really doesn't have a whole lot. So I would put her definitely in mid-tier, probably more like the middle of mid-tier if I had to design this tier list. She has been seeing good results, though, I think, mostly because there's some really dedicated players that love her, like John Numbers, and I already mentioned Rin, and then there's Wii Twerk Trainer, who's been doing really well with her. So yeah, I would put her lower, and I'm not really sure what she has to go from in the meta, but yeah, I would put her lower. So let's move on to 27 to Yoshi, which a lot of people were surprised he was this slow, because Yoshi, I think everyone can look at his tools and recognize how good they are. Like, he has really good power, really good damage racking, really good command grab, kind of an okay recovery, and really good frame data, but he doesn't really place that high. I know ESAM uses him occasionally, and that's about the only like top player results we've seen. And ESAM has even taken a game off of like Zero with Yoshi, but like other than ESAM whipping him out occasionally, we haven't really seen much from him, and that's the Zero's whole justification for putting him this low. Even though we don't see results, I think we can put Yoshi higher despite that. Now, I'm not saying put him a lot higher, but I think we've seen. I can't really say that some characters above him have that much better results. Like Peach, maybe a little bit. Wii Fit, maybe a little bit, but I don't know. Like who else? Lucario, are his results that much better than Yoshi's? I don't know about that. One thing, though, I think is true about Yoshi, and I think it was the Buzz in one of his videos that talked about this. Yoshi's whole problem is, even though he has a great set of moves, they don't seem to really gel together that well. And particularly like his eggs, like are at a really weird angle. Yoshi's he has to kind of short hop a lot. A lot of his game revolves on jumping, and being like in the air is not a good thing in this game. You really don't want to be in the air at all. So I think I would agree with the Buzz there. I think he has a lot of good tools, but they don't really gel together that well. Okay, so for Yoshi, I would probably put him higher. Even though I see why, because of lack of results, I still think his theory is good enough to put him maybe like 5 places higher in this tier list. Okay. Next at 28 is Wario, and I have a lot to say about Wario because I'm a Wario main. Okay, Wario, I understand where he's at, and I agree with it. First of all, Wario does have some issues, his main one being his range and his approaching, which, isn't the best, but I disagreed with a lot of what Zero had to say about Wario, even though it's true that that range is his biggest issue, especially like disjoints give him issues. I think people really underestimate his neutral. Like, I'm not saying it's great or anything, but I don't think it's as bad as people put off. It just requires a lot of creativity and a lot of utilization of his mobility. I think a lot of people will often write off Wario as not that good of a character because of his range, but they completely forget about the fact that he has really good mobility that helps to make up for it to a large extent. Which is why matchups like Ike, for example, are not that bad. Probably an even matchup. We even saw at MLG Reflex Wonder beat Rio, the best Ike main, in a best-of-5 set at MLG. It was in top 8 of MLG, and I think Reflex finished at 5th in that tournament. It was definitely top 8. Yeah, I think it was 5th he finished. So Wario, I think, is better than people think. But I can't really disagree with his list spot on the tier list here, because his results just haven't been there because no one's playing him. The only Abadongo was doing good stuff with him, like finished top 8 at Apex last year, but since then we haven't seen a lot of results outside of the Reflex Wonder, who has done some things. As I just mentioned, I think he finished 5th at MLG. If you don't remember MLG, that was the national. I think the only national Zero lost. I think that was the national that Zero lost to Nairo. Lack of results are really what's bringing Wario down. I do think, though, he has tons of potential, which is one of the reasons I main him. His neutral is not as bad as people think. And one thing Zero said that I really disagreed with was that Wario is super inconsistent as a character. Not as much as you'd think. Like, he is inconsistent because of Waft. A lot of times if you miss Waft, you lose, and if you hit Waft, you win. But Waft doesn't rely on like hard reads. A lot of people think it relies on hard reads. It really doesn't. Once you get good enough with Wario and you learn you should learn his true combos into Waft. He has a lot of ways to combo into Waft, so you really shouldn't be missing Wafts with Wario after a while, because there's just so many ways to combo into it. It's the consistency more comes with can you get those setups. He also has a lot. I think his kill consistency is a lot better than people give it credit for. He does have a good solid kill throw, which can kill like at 130 at the ledge. He also has back air, which is a pretty good kill option. Waft, of course. So, and the other thing about Wario that a lot of people don't really understand is he has excellent edge guarding with bike, and with his dare is really good. So he has more kill options than people think. So overall, I can't disagree with Wario's placement, but I think he does have a lot of potential, and I think it's going to rise over time, especially if a top player or two picks him up instead of this trend continuing of top players dropping him. So, alright guys, so that's my thoughts on the high tiers on Zero's tier list. I will definitely put out another video as Zero finishes his tier list. I appreciate you guys listening. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a like and please subscribe, because I just started this channel recently, but I'm definitely going to start putting Smash content up on my channel regularly. So please subscribe and please spread the word and tell your friends, people you might know about this channel, because I definitely want to get started. I have a couple other channels. Oh, actually one other main channel, but I want to get into Smash. So that's all for today, guys. Thanks for listening. I will see you next time.